Hello everyone, I'm back, Mariana from Change Naturopathy. Here we are at video number 6 of video series about anxieties in children. In today's video I will be talking about my favorite topic, about gut health, specifically importance of your child's gut health. And how is health of your child microbiome can influence development of mental health issues like anxiety and any other chronic diseases. So even again, if you don't have a child who is suffering from anxiety, but you are suffering from anxiety or any other of your family members, you will definitely gain some more insights about anxiety from today's video and possibly some very useful tips. So gut health, that's a huge topic. You wouldn't believe how huge topic is that, and I'm trying to really compress this into this half an hour of our video and to give you as much as possible information. So even about 2,500 years ago, father of medicine, Hippocrates, Greek doctor, was telling his other medical doctors around that, making a statement that all diseases starting from the gut. And today many scientific research actually confirmed that that is absolutely true, that about 90% of all healthy issues and diseases begins in the gut. For anybody, child or adult. So that's why you will hear from somebody like me, naturopath, or any other functional health practitioner bragging all the time about gut health and mentioning gut health in regards to any health issue that you come with. So we would always start and investigate a possible imbalance of your gut, even if you come with skin issues, if you come with some autoimmune disease or anything like that. There is always possibility that some gut imbalance causing the other health issues that you're suffering from. So what is actually gut? I'm bragging about gut, but you might don't know what I mean by that. Gut is actually your digestive system that starts in the mouth and finishes in rectum. So all that group of organs that includes stomach, pancreas, liver, gallbladder, small and large intestine, and end up with rectum is all together is digestive system. It's your gut. So did you know? I'll just give you some fun facts about gut. Did you know that length of your gut is about 8.5 meters long? And the surface of your gut, if you can stretch it totally, would be about 6 double bed sheets joined together. So we need this huge surface, and we need this very lengthy gut to be able to digest properly to the microscopic size of nutrients, all the food that we intake, and so that those nutrients, when really squashed and digested into microscopic sizes, could be transferred via bloodstream to all the cells of our body and all organs in our body. For this reason, digestion of your food can take anything from 12 to 48 hours. So from the time you put food in your mouth and at the time the waste goes in the loo. So that's why we are interested, if you come with any digestive issues happening first time or on and off, we will ask what you have intaken maybe the last 48 hours, not only what you just intaken for breakfast or previous dinner. And when your gut is not functioning properly, the activities of other systems in our body and our kids' body are compromised also, and whole body is at risk because digestive system, our immune system, nervous system and the endocrine system all work together in communication among each other. They interact together all the time. Chronic diseases like cardiovascular disease, diabetes, anxiety, depression, autism, autoimmune diseases, cancers, rising today to really epidemic proportions, and they all could be traced back to our gut health. Even just some common complaints like feeling fatigued, constipation, eczema, other skin issues are directly linked to your gut dysfunction, possible gut dysfunction, and could be traced back to irritated and inflamed gut. And this is because I was talking in the previous videos about that dramatic changes in our lifestyles in the last 100 years due to technological advancement and all the environmental toxins that we are exposed through air, food, cleaning products in our everyday life. So basically the cumulative stress of modern living is taking toll on our health, on your health, on your children's health, especially on our digestive tract, which everything comes from there then. So the most important and vital part of your gut health is your gut microbiome. That's gut bacterial community, and this is community of consisting of bacteria, viruses, fungus, that help us digest our food, make vitamins, modulate our immune system, produce neurotransmitters that make a connection with our brain, and much more. So we have, each person have around 10 trillion bacteria living in their body, and that you can compare with only 1 trillion of human cells that building our body. So 10 trillions of bacteria compared to 1 trillion of cells of human body. We can say that in very practical sense, your microbiome makes up who you are exactly. So microbiome communicates with our cells and have ability to shift our mood, hormones, and much more. How much microorganisms we have, we will affect our health. Because about 70% of our immune system resides in our gut, is so supported in our gut. We rely on our gut to keep us nourished, so to take nutrients from food what we eat, but also to keep us healthy and free from infections. We rely on this microbiome community known as good bacteria. We call them often good bacteria, and we have bad and pathogenic bacteria, and we also have those bad and pathogenic bacteria in a small amounts in that community of microbiome. For many different bodily processes, like already mentioned, immune system, protection from the pathogens, maintaining healthy digestion, balancing hormonal levels, and healthy cognitive function. So you see, that's why at the beginning I was saying how important is gut health, and how is everything starting from the gut. So you can look at the gut as a master control center for other immune responses. Basically the immune system in the gut, the microbiome in the gut, and they make a lot of decisions on how the body will respond to things that encounters, and these decisions are then distributed through our body, through all our cells. And for example, if you have some pathogens affecting different parts of your body, invaders coming through different parts of our body, but then those health issues will show up, maybe like sinus issues, or chronic UTIs, or could be skin issues like eczema, or could be traced back to all of them could be traced back to the dysfunction of our gut. Also, when we think about it, and you might be surprised, but might know already that our planet has powerful natural pathways to support biodiversity and support your ability to fend off pathogens and invisible attackers of our body. And we have regenerative systems built in to our world that support our overall ability to respond to pathogens that are connected to these natural pathways. but this connection has been made much more difficult to stay in consistent in the last century, in this last 100 years that I keep mentioning in previous videos when I was talking about environmental toxins and food sources. So because our foods has been loaded with the chemicals and glyphosides and it's grown as a chemical farming, basically, what I talked in a previous video. Our food sourcing has become far less nutrient dense, and symbiotic relationship of humans, us, and nature has been interrupted. So yesterday, in a previous video, I was mentioning how those chemicals, pesticides, could disrupt the soil microbiome that actually supporting our crop and actually supporting crops microbiome and supporting our microbiome through the intake of foods. So that's what I'm actually talking about here. Imagine the time in the past when the world was clean, pristine, and rich with microbiome life. We didn't have a toxic air, toxic soils, all these chemicals invading us every day. So everything was connected by nature, and this connection kept people healthy, and actually kept people healthy, what I'm talking about today, through gut microbiome. So at that point, human gut microbiome was balanced, was intact. There wasn't those invaders like environmental toxins from food, air, and cleaning products that will destroy the gut microbiome and then cause the other issues in our body. So when we look at gut health in general, we can say that gut health will have better diversity. It means better diversity of the microbiome, but we would want higher amounts of this good microbiome or good bacteria, opposed to smaller amounts of the bad bacteria in our community of microbiome. So when this community is composed of the right balance of microorganisms, they support healthy metabolism, immune function, digestion, and hormonal production, and cognition. So all of this, what I mentioned, food, stress, chemical exposure, cleanliness, and where we live, can all have major impact on the microbiome. So again, going back on that last 100 years and all those influences that I just mentioned on our lifestyle caused actually huge stress and imbalance on our microbiome to be totally changed and to have actually influence on our general health and triggering of the chronic diseases. And that microbiome patterns and community is different from person to person because of different environmental conditions, such as use of one person will use medication, some other person won't use, different infections that they expose, toxic exposure they expose, and addition of hygiene that is overly used, especially this year. Genetics, and also affecting the microbiome community, all those things affecting microbiome community. So we have the case that today you don't have two people, even not identical twins, don't have a totally same composition of microbiome, what is really amazing. So when those beneficial species exist in low numbers or are completely missing, opportunistic pathogens take over, and they can have a detrimental effect on our health and well-being, and our health and well-being of our kids. These beneficial bacteria are easily influenced through lifestyle habits, what I mentioned, and environment. And when this is imbalanced, with those bacteria in balance, this has to lead to many adverse effects ranging from poor mental health, including anxieties, endocrine disorders, and some cancers. Your microbiome also controls how many calories you can absorb from the food you eat. Your microbiome also controls your cravings or your child's cravings. So depending on the amount of good or bad bacteria, you will have different cravings. So if you have a overall increase of bad bacteria, then we and our kids will crave more processed, sugary, fatty foods. If you have a good balance of microbiome, we will just eat. We will crave for the fresh produce, more vegetables and fruit. Depending on your microbiome and your weight, on what type of bacteria are predominantly in your gut, so your cravings might change, and cravings of your children might change. So once we do some intervention and look into your gut or your kid's gut, we can definitely make that balance back, and those cravings can go away, or you can stabilize your cravings and your weight. So also, if you feel exhausted, if you're lacking in energy, that could be also because health of your microbiome it's depleted. That healthy microbiome in your gut is depleted, and there is an imbalance or inflammation in the gut. So how is all that connected? So why I'm talking too much about gut here, but how is all of that connected with mental health and the triggering anxieties and depression in kids and in adults? Did you know that your gut health actually can contribute to brain-based issues like anxiety, depression, and ADHD? That's what I'm pointing out all this time, but I hope some of you heard about it. Research has already provided us with proof that there is a definitely gut-brain connection, and that your gut is also known and is called by researchers second brain, and affecting everything from fatigue, depression, anxiety, weight gain, autoimmune diseases, skin condition, etc. So it is not surprising that gut-brain connection, if it's dysfunction, can trigger anxiety. Many research has shown that gut communicates with the brain, and it has a power influence over both physical conditions of the brain and our cognitive functions. So if we want to understand the connection between our guts and our brain, we must understand our microbiome. So if our gut is compromised, our microbiome is imbalanced, so we have more bad bacteria, bad guys than good bacteria. That is great environment for the increasing inflammation, triggering our immune system and increasing inflammation, which leads to our intestinal lining being compromised, and which leads to intestinal permeability, what is also known as leaky gut, what you probably heard about and read about. Bacteria from our gut protects that gut barrier, that gut lining, what is protecting our organs inside, and work to ensure that and help to that cell wall junctions, which are little openings in that protective layer around the gut, stay tight and healthy, preventing that increased permeability and preventing leaky gut. Leaky gut is a condition in which that intestinal lining loses that integrity and becomes entry point for inflammatory pathogens. So those tight junctions were easily open and letting in and out more material than supposed to do. If you can imagine that intestinal lining is only one cell thick, and these intestinal cells form that barriers known as a gut barrier that separate us from outside world. So you can compare that with let's say, castle. Any castle have the big wall and have many different doors that open when they're letting in citizens who live in the castle, and closing when they don't want to let in intruders. Same is happening in our gut lining. So we have that little openings that letting in food and waste out, opening when the waste needs to go out, but when that's compromised, those openings are not that tight anymore, and they start to stretch and open, and so many other stuff like waste and wasted food particles, wasted hormones, and toxins can go through those tight openings. So every time that unwanted particles or pathogens enters our bloodstream, and that's the pathway actually for those pathogens and those toxins and unprocessed hormones to go to our bloodstream. Anytime when they go through that via leaky gut and enter our bloodstream, immune response is triggered. So that gut continues to be hyperpermeable. If gut continues over a longer period of time to be hyperpermeable, we have our immune system on constant alert, and it's constantly triggering, constantly producing the inflammation, because immune system respond to invaders by producing inflammation, trying to enclose those intruders and get rid of them by producing that inflammation around them. So that constant trigger of immune system causing overproduction of inflammation and continues making that continuous body-wide inflammation, which means that irritants and toxins are now being released into our bloodstream and damaging our cells and impairing the function of brain or any other vital organs. So that inflammation can spread around as a secondary inflammation to any other organ in our body, including the brain. So that's how that leads very often to secondary inflammation conditions like anxiety, ADHD, other behavioral changes, rheumatoid arthritis, multiple sclerosis, ulcerative colitis. So if you want to recognize any digestive symptoms of a leaky gut, could be constipation, diarrhea, gas, bloating, irritable bowel syndrome, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, celiac disease, or any other food sensitivities. Also, another thing what is happening in our gut is that our brain chemical messengers are produced in our gut by our gut microbiome. That includes serotonin, GABA, acetylcholine, noradrenaline, dopamine. These are hormones that control mood and anxiety and responsible for regulating your emotions and many other functions in our body. So your gut is also known as a second brain because it contains about 200 million neurons, and the gut has the ability to function totally on its own because it's got its own nervous system, what is called enteric nervous system, which works independently from the brain. So that's really amazing. And as I mentioned already, the gut microbiota that have the ability to shift our moods and hormones are affecting our energy levels too. So what kept happening in the gut does not stay in the gut. Your gut affecting everything from, as I mentioned, fatigue, depression, anxiety, weight gain, autoimmunity, chronic diseases, digestive issues, skin issues, and much more. So many studies have shown that people with depression and anxiety have that different microbiome population compared to the people who does not suffer from those diseases. Of course, the microbiome population is decreased and imbalanced compared to the healthy individuals. And this is because gut become inflamed, causing process that I just explained, causing compromised production of neurotransmitters and vitamins, reducing absorption of food, so preventing correct absorption of food. So you're not getting enough nutrients, and as our gut and brain are connected, which means if gut is inflamed, we will have also brain inflammation as the secondary inflammation. And that is how mental health issues starts and develops as anxiety, depression, behavioral changes like ADHD, autism in children. So this means that is so vitally important finding the source and cause of that imbalance in our microbiome that are fueling that inflammation in the gut and then spreading inflammation in other parts of our body. That will help discover that underlying cause of the anxiety and help with working and mitigating anxiety and working on a reduction of anxiety in your child or any adult too. So obviously there is a powerful connection between gut health and how we feel. Your gut literally affects everything in your body, including your brain and your mood. The simplest way to understand the connection between your gut and your brain is thinking about time when you felt nervous before maybe some presentation, interview, exam, date, or another important event, what was important, really important for you. That same goes for children. You probably felt butterflies in your tummy, you felt sweating more, you felt nauseous maybe, you even might end up with diarrhea. So that's what's happening. Whatever thoughts you had in your mind, that stressful thoughts that you had in your mind, it was because of connection with the gut. You were having actually some digestive symptoms at the time. So you can see psychological factors can affect your gut, and physiology leading to inflammation and affect movements of your gut tract, the GI tract. So at the same time, compromised gut flora may compromise your mood and brain health and trigger anxiety. So your gut and your brain communicates through the gut-brain axis. One way that connects is through the vagus nerve. Vagus nerve starts in the brain stem at the bottom of the lobe here and travels down in the gut and stimulates the bowel motility and the production of neurotransmitters like serotonin in the gut. The other way your gut and brain communicate communication of the gut and brain is through your microbiome community that makes up your like all other species like bacteria, viruses, fungus. So when your microbiome and this gut-brain connection are disrupted, it may lead to a number of cognitive dysfunction and mood disorders, including anxiety and depression and OCD and ADHD and many other. So imbalance in the microbiome creates the stress in the body that not only triggers inflammation, but also can lead to significant mental health problems. And many recent research show that even short-term digestive issues like IBS can contribute to mental health issues later in the life. And people who suffer from IBS are much more likely to experience, therefore, anxiety and any other mental health issues. A healthy gut supports a healthy mind, and boosted levels of probiotics that we can intake through the food or supplemental form are directly linked to enhance memory too. So higher levels of neurotransmitter GABA, which is produced by some species of our gut microbiome, are also associated with better memory. Unfortunately, we are really susceptible to many treats that can diminish the diversity of our microbiome. What I was talking about, all those environmental toxins that we are exposed every day. So the baseline microbial species we start with are determined by our birth and early childhood experiences. So that's why many natural health practitioners will ask you what kind of birth you had or your child was delivered to, if it's natural birth. So would be exposed to mother's microbiome, what is very good. If it's breastfed, that's also another connection with a mother's microbiome. So all of that are very important, but most of us don't also keep all of those things what are exposed from the birth in the infant stage, because throughout our life many things can happen which deplete our microbiome, what I already mentioned in the previous videos and a little bit today, and leave us really vulnerable to pathogenic infections. So this gut-brain axis is the bidirectional communication between the gut and the brain. The gut talks to the brain, but brain also talks to the gut. And our gut is affecting our mood, but our mood is also affecting our gut. You can't treat one without treating another one. This communication happens through many of systems, including immune system, endocrine system, which may help with making our hormones, And they also communicate through physical connection with our nervous system, what I was talking about, vagus nerve. When we eat, for example, I'll give an example, when we eat food, your brain should send the signal through the nerves to the gut to increase the vagus nerve, to gut to increase blood flow to the stomach to help digestion. Sending a signal to the intestine, so digestive enzymes and stomach acid could be released and prepare everything for digestion of the food. So there is a normal movement of our gut. If there is a poor communication between gut and brain itself, then the gut might not get the right amount of blood flow to these vital functions. But if there is an issue with the brain, then brain won't send enough blood to the gut, so digestion would be impaired, where reduced release of there wouldn't be enough digestive enzymes, and there wouldn't be enough motility, resulting in constipation. So that's how we end up with many digestive symptoms like reflux, if you don't not enough hydrochloric acid is released for the turning around and digesting food in the stomach, or reduced motility can end up in constipation. So that's where it's very, very important. We always, natural health practitioners always point out that treating the whole person who is sitting in front of you, not treating on the condition that that person is diagnosed with. So we have to look overall body and overall things what's happening for that person in front of us, not only just one system. Because as you can see, many systems in our body are totally interconnected and working together. If microbiome are being attacked by chemicals and antibiotics and pesticides and those standard Western diet, excessive sugar inflammation and bad bacteria, the damage could be huge. And chronic inflammation, as I said, can cause secondary inflammation, what I explained just before, in different parts of our body, like brain. One study has shown that changes in microbiome and imbalance of bacteria and inflammation in the GI tract causing neuroinflammation. Inflammation of brain can have a huge effect on the ability to digest foods because it disrupts the communication between the gut and the brain. And symptoms of chronic neuroinflammation are brain fog, fatigue, slow cognitive processing, unclear thoughts. Chronic neuroinflammation is one possible cause of anxieties and depression and other mental health issues. As a reduction of the brain ability to activate the front lobe, which is our executive center, responsible for mood regulations and taking actions on thoughts and beliefs. So anxiety and depression, we know that we see just that have an inability to really get motivated to take actions, to do just everyday normal tasks what we were able to do before. So recent studies have shown that marked difference exists in the microbiome of patients with major depression and the other ones what I think already mentioned. And those with the depression showed the decreased microbial diversity, but is just proving and showing that the production of neuroinflammation and that connection between gut and the brain. So the main point to optimize gut health is to have stable levels of blood sugars throughout the day. That's another thing important to look out for. So stable blood levels is needed to produce brain chemicals, messengers, what I mentioned just before, neurotransmitters like GABA, dopamine. And producing stable levels of those neurotransmitters is essential not only for the mood but also for the gut, for optimal motility and digestion. Inflammation in our gut can cause that hyperexcitation in the brain that results in negativity in our moods and in our children's moods. But our fear-based thoughts and stress also on the other time in the opposite way can cause gut issues. So we know how strong is that connection between gut and the brain, and I do fully believe that we can have control over emotional states on a daily basis because of that bi-directional way of how that works. we can treat gut, but still choose our emotional state and our beliefs and how we start our day. And that same goes for the kids. If we give them some tools how to actually regulate emotions during their day, and how to look after emotions and the emotional state. So for example, I'll give you an example of my client. So that was a boy who was 6 years old, beautiful child, but had very destructive moods and destructive behavior, and become lethargic after that. After aggression, lethargy comes in, and we identified that he is sensitive on phenolics and 14 different foods, and he starting to eliminate those foods and using other immunotherapies. Months after starting the treatment, he was already feeling better, and those moods are slowly disappearing, and those aggressive behaviors slowly disappearing. So definitely once you get down inflammation, you can see results, and you can see improvement in behavior in many children. Those phenolic foods and salicylates can trigger sensitivities in immune system response, and some foods that they contain those chemicals are apple juice, raisins, grapes, berry, tomato sauce, ketchup, many things what kids love and used to eat all the time. So if you see medical doctor for that, they wouldn't have extreme knowledge, apart if they're holistic medical doctor, about allergies, apart from anaphylactic shocks. And as I said, some integrative doctors today will know the ways how to go and check up for the allergic reactions for certain things only. We can do some functional testing as a naturopath, as any other functional health practitioner, or can recommend elimination diet to identify specific foods that are triggering the problems and behavioral changes or anxieties in your child. Sometimes parents, you as a parent, know much better what is actually affecting your child, what's causing the reactions in your kid. In digestive issues, somebody say that if kids doesn't have any digestive issues, then there's no problem with the gut. But that's not always the case, because kid could have inflamed gut, or adults the same, can have inflamed gut, and it can show up as a seasonal allergies, like always having sniffly, runny nose, or have the other symptoms, that is have allergies and sensitivities on pets, on dust, on mold. So have those different environmental allergies, but food definitely can increase that reactions, because adding different foods on the inflamed gut definitely won't end up well, and causing more reactions on the already existing allergens. So reducing that load, the tolerance to those allergens can become better and better. So quickly, I'm just gonna go over what actually hurts our microbiome, all what we learned today. So what can hurt microbiome community that should be balanced? Your child, yourself, anybody here in the world, is antibiotic overuse, hormonal birth controls for adults, eating standard Western diet, chemical and pesticides exposure, stress, huge factor, and little time spent outside, our disconnection from the nature. So many of these things are already mentioned and discussed in length in the previous videos and today. And what helps microbiome to be healthy and diverse is to improve our diet, to eat more nourishing diet, diverse diet, more organic foods, more locally produced foods, drinking at least 2 liters of filtered water, reducing our stress, spending more time in the nature, having always regular exercises, and have always social contacts with family and friends. So that definitely goes for children and adults. So thank you very much for staying this long with me today and learning more about gut. We learned today what is the gut, how the gut works, how gut can influence other parts of our body, how gut is connected with the brain, how that gut-brain connection actually causing these different disruptions and different chronic diseases, including anxieties. And we learned what is the microbiome and why is microbiome of our gut so important. Tomorrow we will have our last topic, our last video about how to support and manage your child's anxiety. And you will learn where to find information and how to build support network while caring for your child with anxiety. So, excuse me. Please drop down any questions if you have, or direct message me, and I will see you tomorrow. Thank you very much for listening. Bye.